Wow, writing about in video games is so much fun, but sometimes I just want to stop cause it's boring. And also, I need to make money from my job or else the IRS is going to find me and take away my prized manga collection. Don't worry, my darlings, I'll never let them find you. You are safe in my hands. Hey, stop staring at me like that. I don't like you that much. But also sometimes, I need to do something to appease the 600 people who watch me for some reason. And also sometimes, they want me to write about something that is more relevant. It will be entertaining for them, and I can reach a new audience of people also interested in the relevant thing. But also sometimes, I just don't want to write about the relevant stuff because the relevant stuff is a bunch of total wanking, steaming bullshit. But also sometimes, I just have to suck it up and do it. So let us talk about this modern game. I just wanna play video games. Just wanna play video games. Just wanna play video games. Warhorse Studios' Kingdom Come Deliverance, try saying that 3 times fast, is a pretty obvious choice for any of you in the know about recent game controversies, but sure as hell was a surprise to me. It's a medieval SF game akin to Skyrim, what original comparison, that's somehow gotten really popular this year and has sold over 1 million copies across all the platforms you can get it on, yet I hadn't heard of the damn thing until I watched Yahtzee's video on it. And I'll say now that no, we're not reviewing the game in addition to the spats it spelled it, cause A, I have 1 million other games in the bucket list that I need to get through, and B to Z, as soon as I got whiff of how the combat worked and that god-awful sounding save system, I lost any interest in playing it whatsoever. Similarly, I didn't hear a whiff about the controversy surrounding it either until I looked it up, and jeez-oh, I got a lot more than I bargained for. And what seems to be becoming very prevalent for modern controversies, it's more to do with the behind-the-scenes shenanigans rather than the game itself. The main target in this controversy is the game's director/writer, as well as the co-founder of Warhorse Studios, Daniel Vavra. Boo. Dude's been in the industry for a long time, and while he doesn't have much in his portfolio, he's become a lot more well-known in recent years for his social media presence. Among the accusations leveled against him in the game by Le Game's journalism, the sticking point was how the guy was a Gamergate supporter. Well, that's the episode, guys. Hope you enjoyed. Have a nice day. Don't come back. I'll all burnt down before you even noticed. Goodbye. Fuck off. Alright, fine. I've ignored this thing long enough. Before we talk about Kingdom Condom, let's ever so slightly touch on Gamergate. I teased at it a couple times in this series, never really gave out my explicit thoughts, so, guess you all really want to know what I think of Gamergate, don't ya? You really want to know what I think of it? You really want to know what I think of it? You really want to know what I think about Gamergate? You really want to It was a fucking mess! It was an embarrassingly incomprehensible mess that I don't even dare consider dissecting at any point in time! I know some of you were probably looking forward to it, but it's just too much. From the outside perspective I've taken, anyone involved in the movement, pro or anti, got their sweet asses chewed up and spat back out like diversely flavored pieces of gum. Even though they feel like they've opened the eyes of the unsuspecting to their opponent's ideals within the community and reveled in unattractive levels of self-satisfaction. This can be seen today by recognizing the continued existence of Kotaku in action and acknowledging that the Moonrock Bombs lady is running for Congress. Given all that though, I just don't care about what exactly happened anymore. I just don't. I could look at all the events that occurred in this shitfest, even the ones with the violently contradicting viewpoints in Imgur posts, and I still couldn't give a rat's finely shaped glutes about Gamergate or anything that gets attached to Gamergate. And more to the point, acting as if the movement or the term has any significant meaning now is just pointless and dumb. I remember seeing last year how Gamergate was supposedly responsible for the shit thrown at that one games journalist who sucked ass at Cuphead, the tutorial no less. And I'm like, bitch, there's just a bunch of dicks on the internet and they're doing this just to get a reaction. You can choose to react to that however the hell you want, but calling them part of Gamergate is frankly naive and just giving them exactly what they're looking for. Anyone who says otherwise, pro or anti, clearly have not moved on from that crapple and are giving legitimacy to a dead movement.
Oh, but the alt-right infected our community and they grew out of Gamergate, so they're still there. They're still there.
Then call them the alt-right then. And even so, you're doing the exact same thing. They're just a bunch of dicks that I personally choose to make fun of because they're dicks. And making fun of dicks is more entertaining than playing the argument Autobahn with them. Because you know what they say, fun, fun, fun on the Autobahn, fun, fun, fun on the Autobahn, fun, fun, fun on the Autobahn, fun, fun... Wait, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, that's right. Regardless of all that other stuff I just said, which probably turned off the majority of anyone who bothered to watch this garbage heap, Mr. Vavra still supported the movement in its heyday. In this realm of the internet, saying you were/are a Gamergate supporter is basically the equivalent of saying you're all for reestablishing racial segregation, stripping down women and their rights, and saying that all the non-straight folk need to stand in a perfect line and brace for the impact of hot lead. We've already seen the consequences of such with the last night back in E3 2017, though that seems to have been largely forgotten about. I hope the game isn't though, because it actually looks pretty interesting. I'd play it. Maybe. I don't know. So why do I even bother bringing up that gosh darn hoedown in the first place? Well, to preface that, Kingdom Come takes place in a purportedly historically accurate recreation of 15th century Bohemia, one of the most important kingdoms during the era of the Roman Empire. Great care was taken by the development team in recreating that period of time, from the recognizable names and landmarks, even down to the weapons you wielded in the game. However, some journalists didn't take too kindly to how it portrayed the actual people populating Bohemia at the time, or lack thereof in this case. They called out the absence of people of color and the poor treatment of the women in the game, accusing the developers, especially Mr. Vivera, of racism, sexism, and xenophobia, using his support of Gamergate, among other things, as evidence. In their defense, the developers claim that in their years of research, they found the presence of people of color during that time to be non-existent. The majority population consisting of a mix of Hungarians, Czechs, Cumans, and Germans. Professionals in this area from all over Europe backed up their claims during the devs' research and the ensuing backlash of the accusations. Even those at Johannes Gutenberg University Mainz were like, "Oh yeah, no, the very event. Are we done here? Can we go back to teaching this poor man how to have a good German accent now?" However, journalists did their own research and found that there was a presence of people of color, being Moors, Muslims, Jewish folk, and in addition to all that, I did my own research and I discovered that there was a presence of something else. Me falling asleep because I was bored of this shit. Okay. I did glance over at what happened during that period. Turns out there was actually more of an emphasis on religious movements rather than anything else. Big surprise, I know. But credit where credit's due, it's a pretty interesting thing to learn about. And I don't know about any other games that have taken place in this era or even tried to teach us about it. Unfortunately, Kingdom CUM kept that stuff on the back burner in favor of the story of its boring main character.
What are you waiting for, soldier? Fire the trebuchet! For king and country!
For king and country, my ass. This is all good, clean, fun.
Nearly as good as having that traitor in the pillory. Nearly. Now that would be sweet.
And what kind of accent is that? That's just... In fact, the recreation of Bohemia mostly feels like an Assassin's Creed-esque recreation. Okay, player, here's some historical figures you might want to learn about. Here's some cities you'd be interested in. Here's some monuments as well. Kind of give an overall flavor to this whole era here, what you may probably be here for. Now go do something completely unrelated to that. That said, I'm no expert on the subject. I don't know if that epic crossover between the Christians and the Muslims happened during that time. I don't think it's an impossibility either, but from what I can gather, their presence seemed so minute and insignificant, it really didn't seem worth including, except to appease, well, whoever complained after the fact. I can't really help but just shrug at it. Just, okay, whatever. try harder next time, I guess. And even if the game included people of color, you think they would still treat them any better? Because historically speaking, they'd probably be a lot worse off than the women in the game. Speaking of which, the sexism claims involved how most, if not all, the women in the game were whores or bitches or dead. Wow, how shocking that women in the Middle Ages were treated like shit. I didn't even know that. I didn't even think that was possible. Look, it's not pretty, but it's really nothing to scoff at either. Then there are the xenophobia claims, which deal with how the only ethnic group put in a somewhat positive light are the chicks, and everyone else are violent scumbags that need to be eradicated by you. Oh geez, they might actually be right about this. We can't let the people in 1403 be influenced by this game.
As the present leader of Bohemia, I refuse to let it happen. Quickly, Jeeves, get the cavalry. We're going to war!
Joking aside, I just don't see it. These accusations are so lacking. They're so weak. Even with Vivera behind the scene, a person that I, myself, like many, am hardly a fan of, mostly because I didn't know who he was before this, so I didn't really care to begin with. I really just don't see this game as a means to push a racist agenda. I see it as a way to experience a piece of history that hasn't been explored much in media, even if the execution of such leaves much to be desired. I'm also getting the vibe that this is like the Akaba's Beat situation, leaving out something so insignificant and inconsequential that no one except the most desperate and cloying people would notice. Yeah, the women do get treated like shit in here, but complaining about that is like complaining that there's racism in Mafia 3. Given the historical context, I'm not breaking my fingers just because a woman got mistreated during medieval times. As such, I just don't see a reason to care about this crap. And the game has much bigger problems than perceived racism. Yeah, I haven't played it, but I sure as hell ain't going to because of that whack-ass control style and limited save system. In the end though, the backlash turned out to be beneficial to the developers, as a good chunk of the game's sales came from people who bought the game to own the libs, I guess. A scenario that's played out countless times in varying forms, since whenever someone says a game is morally unjust, there are a truckload of people who push back against that to show up those jokers, am I right? That's what most controversies boil down to these days. Two sides pushing back against agendas and self-righteousness, with their own agendas and self-righteousness, when the world at large gives less than a shit than a cheese lover with IBS, myself included. Even if Mr. Vulva is a massive ass-sieve, he and his team can make whatever the hell they want. Damn the consequences. But before you buy me a beer for owning the libs, the same thing goes for the people at Playtonic when they cut out JonTron's tiny-ass cameo in Yooka-Laylee, and a fuck ton of annoying jackholes got pissed at that. Those guys can also do whatever the hell they want too, damn the consequences. Anyone can do whatever the hell they want when it comes to games, damn the consequences. That's why we have games like KZ Manager. Basically, what I'm saying is that you're all a bunch of babies that haven't quite grasped practicality when it comes to flipping out over things in video games, and I'm morally superior to all of you because I say so, and you should be eating out of my neutrally dense hands like the bunch of sheeple you are, and if you don't bask in my glory at my words of wisdom, then you can shrivel into dust because you're worthless in everyone else's eyes and will be cursed to live an unfulfilled and uninteresting journey in this shithole of a planet, and why haven't I stopped this? This is stupid. As for one final note, let's be honest with ourselves, can we? Just a little bit. Kingdom Come wouldn't have come under any scrutiny whatsoever if Mr. Vagina hadn't declared himself to be a Gamergate supporter. I don't think there's any doubt that the game could have been the exact same thing as it is now, and no one would have bothered to care for it if it weren't for that little factoid. And if you really are concerned about the Gamergate supporters infecting the masses, or how the social justice parasites are destroying our games, then good luck to your ongoing meaningless battle. In the meantime, I'm gonna finish that super dark video I keep giving you all blue balls about, and play video games, maybe watch some anime. I've been really getting into that Macadamia franchise. It's got some good shit, really good characters. Stop staring at me like that, Mina. And yeah, that's about it. So yeah, thanks for watching, and see y'all next time. Video games are a mistake.